So we're going to start with recruiting and then move our way into retaining, which is obviously equally, if not more important. All right, so the recruiting points. Start with your distributors. Obviously, some of you are distributors, but this is the best place if you're an importer, is your current distributor. You're the key state you're starting in. Use them and ask them if they know the best people. They are always going to be the best area to go to first. Yeah, front line for hiring. There is our distributor partners. They see the marketplace different than we do. They're the most active. They know who the most active and talented are. And I've found some great people just by asking my distributors. I think that is the perfect place to start. And sometimes we don't even have to go any further. Sometimes that's where we find everything. They have a vested interest in helping us hire. You know, they want to see themselves be successful. So with the right people, we will be successful. And then it also quietly has a secondary aspect to it. It shows our trust and faith in our distributors. And when they see that we're coming to them, it makes us feel more like partners. And it makes them understand that we are somebody that is excited to be working with them, and we know that they're going to help us in the long run. All right, ask your supplier peers. I mean, that starts at events like this, where you're around other people, you're shaking hands, you're meeting new people. For me, the supplier peers, although they could be competition at times, they also need to become part of our network. A successful hiring manager is well connected in the local supplier network and hears of talent well before it's needed, well before they need to hire. I think that's a really important piece. I think myself in my main markets, I've always tried to do that and be fully aware of the talent that's in. And I've gone after people that maybe not even available because I've heard so many good things about them through my supplier network. Most of your suppliers' peers are actively trying to gain a reputation, and helping place peers in positions is a great way to solidify yourself as a go-to person. So that's one thing, again, they have a vested interest with us. Other suppliers are more than likely to give you the truth. That's another side of it. When you're asking, a reference list, you're going to hear great things about everybody for the most part. Very rarely are you going to hear something bad, and if you do, it's probably illegal. But your supplier peers will be able to give you the down low on what's happening with each candidate and any issues they've seen. Post some more. I think this is pretty, relevant to today's marketplace. When it comes down to it, it's a digital world. You've got to put your ads out there everywhere, get them on all the best sites. Wine Jobs I list here. I don't work for Wine Jobs, but for me, I've found some great talent through that website. While you'll get 30, 40, 50 resumes, you might only have 8 that have actual value for what you're looking for, but you'll still find somebody for who they are. I, as well, keep a close eye on those websites, and I hope everybody else does. It's important to do that, to know the things that are available in the market, to know the things, the people that are available, the companies that are hiring. I know for myself, to see companies that are continually hiring the same positions over and over again is definitely something that we should all keep an eye on and be aware that there might be an issue within that company. And also, in turn, the companies that are growing exponentially and you see them adding more and more people to different places, that's also something that's really important for us all to keep an eye on. And the other reputable sites, of course, and I have found some good people here, Glassdoor, BevForce. I mean, there's a slew of them. I think those 3 are a good place to start. But you want a large applicant pool. I guess that's the most important part of recruiting, is you want a large applicant pool that you're working with. Trust your instincts. I think that this is pretty self-explanatory, but once you have scheduled interviews, you've gotten your applicant pool, you've slimmed it down, look past the resume and focus on getting to the important stuff. Who the applicant really is and what their goals are. Because more often than not, you have people that seem like great applicants, but their goal is to be much bigger than the position you're hiring. And although that's a good thing to have ambition, you also want to make sure somebody's ready to take the time and grow within that position before they make that next step. That's a really important part of it. Avoid cliche interview questions. I think that, we get caught up in this sometimes, sell me this pen type of mentality. It is important to ask tough questions so that we can ask people, so that people can answer us, on the fly, and we can see how they react to those tough questions. But it's not important to ask these cliche questions that are on a cookie cutter interview that a corporate company would put together. And then I really do subscribe to the mantra in every part of my life to go with your gut. If you're between candidates, the person that is easier to speak to, that's more personable, is the person you should go with. Ultimately, we are in sales, and likability is the most important part. You know, the way you get along with somebody and you interact with somebody is the same way that person's going to get along and interact with their distributors and their customers. It's really, for me, that is the most important aspect of hiring a person. You can train skills. You can train wine knowledge, sales acumen, business acumen, but you really can't train personality. It is who somebody is. So for me, that's the gut question, is which one of my candidates is the one that I would like to sit down and have a conversation with and I can get along with. Be cognizant and empathetic. I've personally gone through this many times, and I think it's important we all keep it in mind. We're hiring people that have families, that have lives, that have other jobs at that time or don't, and are looking for a job. It's really important for us to realize that we're not going to put somebody in a position where they are not prepared to succeed. Somebody who doesn't have the right background and hasn't spent the right amount of time in that position is probably not going to be happy. They'll become overwhelmed, and those people become jaded very quickly. So while you might find the right personality, and this sounds like a little bit of going backwards, you'll find that right personality, but also make sure they have the roots and the background to be able to do the job you need them to do. Unless you're willing to invest hours and hours, weeks and weeks on training somebody, which a lot of people don't have that time or that ability, which will be later in this presentation. Do not draw out the interview process for weeks. I've also been involved in things like this where I'm interviewing with a company and I'm excited and things look like they're going well, and then it's 2 weeks I don't hear anything, and then I get a call 3 weeks later to meet them the next day, and these processes sometimes just get drawn out and drawn out. 2-3 months to hire somebody is an extended period of time. So from my experience, I think the best way to deal with it, because you'll lose candidates this way, is have 3 levels of interview at the most. I think that if you're hiring, let's say, from my side, the supplier side, if you're hiring an entry-level area manager, have them interview with the regional manager, have them interview with the divisional manager if you have that level, and then have them interview with the senior management / ownership, and that's the end of it. I think that there should not be more than that. I think we have to make decisions, and like I said, you will not only lose candidates, you will lose credibility if people realize that they're going to have to sit around for 2 or 3 months waiting for themselves to be hired. So that's an important fact in my world. And then lastly, keep in mind what you want out of the position and what the candidate's long-term goals are. That's also something that I stated at the beginning. You want to make sure you hire somebody that's hungry to succeed and not just looking for a stepping stone. And in our industry, we see a lot of that. You see a lot of people that are that are trying to quickly move up the ladder, and that's not always the right way to go. We need people that have built a nice little base and a nice root system before that tree starts to grow. So keep that in mind, and it's important questions during the interview process is whether or not that person is in it for that 3 to 5 year period. Defining what that period is important, because I think, sometimes we say, I'm hiring a regional manager, but I want to give them, I want them to give me, the next 10 years of their life. Might not be realistic. So you really should think to yourself, where are you going to get paid out on this? If you have 5 years out of somebody, is that going to give you what you need? Are you prepared to move on and hire somebody new and maybe to promote this person in that 5 year period? That should be a clear thing that's in your mind when you start the interview process, is how much you expect to get out of this job.